Good morning, all. It's Tuesday, December 30th, almost New Year's Eve, 2025. This is an open door, and we are working this morning with training wheels, which is an attempt by yours truly to take a look at the daily lessons from a more of a non-dual and non-course language perspective. I have just gotten back from PT, and so I'm here, and we'll see where this goes. What we're going to do this morning is do our read through of the first 50 lessons, and then I'll take us after a few words into a contemplation probably about a 10-minute contemplation of this lesson. And we'll talk about that when we get there. But essentially, the invitation is to just see where the words of the lesson take you, just to be with the lesson. Because today's lesson is, it's number 74, and the lesson is, there is no will but God's. That's a very, very simple statement, but it is expressed in infinite ways because the will of God has infinite expression. And so we'll take a look at that together. We'll just rest in that lesson together. And then each of us, if we would like to, can share our own unique experience of it, because whatever we share is always helpful. So it's always illuminative. That's a word I just made up. It always illuminates everyone else's experience. So it's illuminative. It's that. So I invite you to turn your camera off and just rest in this space. I'm going to turn mine off and just keep my audio on, and we'll start. Just be present here. Maybe just a note to the self in this instant that I am here. And feeling the body sitting in the chair, on the bed, wherever the body is, just feeling it. And letting the shoulders relax. And noticing the breath, not doing anything with it, just noticing it. And whatever has been in your experience so far this morning or today, just inviting it to be released so that this moment can be met without carrying anything forward, just free in this moment. Expecting nothing, but open to anything. Nothing I see means anything. Nothing I see in this room, on this street, in this mind means anything. I have given everything I see all the meaning it has for me. I do not understand anything I see. These thoughts do not mean anything. I am never upset for the reasons I think. I am upset because I see something that is not there. I see only the past. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. I see nothing as it is now. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. I'm upset because I see a meaningless world. A meaningless world engenders fear. God did not create a meaningless world. The absolute infinite did not create a meaningless world. My thoughts are images I have made. I have no neutral thoughts. I see no neutral things. And I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing. And I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my thoughts. But I am determined to see. I am determined to see things differently. What I see is a form of vengeance. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. I do not perceive my own best interests. I do not know what anything is for. My attack thoughts are attacking my own invulnerability. Above all else, I want to see. Above all else, I want to see things differently. The absolute infinite is in everything I see. It is in everything I see because it is in my mind. I am not a victim of the world I see. I have invented the world I see. But there is another way of looking at the world. I could see peace instead of this. My mind is part of God's mind. I am very holy. My holiness envelops everything I see. My holiness blesses the world. And there is nothing my holiness cannot do. The recognition of my holiness is my salvation. My holiness is my salvation. I am blessed as a son of God. God, which is love, goes with me wherever I go. Love is my strength. Vision is love's gift. God is my source. I cannot see apart from it. Love is the light in which I see. Love is the mind with which I think. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the strength in which I trust. There is nothing to fear. God's voice speaks to me all throughout the day. I am sustained by the love of my Creator. And there is no will but God's. There is no will but God's. The guides tell us to consider this. The idea of working with the divine is curious because you understand yourself first, and foremost as separate from it. The idea of working with the divine is curious because you understand yourself first and foremost as separate from it. There is no will but God's. If God is in everything, then it is impossible that anything could exist outside it. David Hawkins tells us this. And he takes it further. It follows that nothing accidental is possible. Nothing accidental is possible, or it would occur outside mind and will of God. All thought, all feeling, all sensation, all dimensions, all universes, all time, all events, all being, all consciousness are in, of, and with mind of God. What we may perceive as chaos is merely our inability to perceive the whole. There is only God's will. This thinking, even for the mature student, even for the mature student, can feel confusing and sometimes even threatening, but it can also bring great peace. It tells me that as an expression of the will of God, as an expression of the will of God, I can have no goal that is not ultimately in alignment with it. This means every error I believe I have ever made must eventually lead back to source. Free will says I can take as long as I want with this game, but source is endlessly patient with itself because it rests in the knowledge that all things it has extended from itself, all things that emerge out of itself, must eventually lead back to the source, back to itself. As we contemplate this lesson, we are asked to stay aware. The temptation is often to relax and unfocus. But in this gathering, in this meditation, we're going to remain gently aware. We will be aware that there is no will but God's. So every sensation, every thought, every feeling, all that arises is God's will. There is no separation between what you seem to perceive and what is God's will. So relax. Let your shoulders soften. Use your breath to anchor your mind gently. And say in your mind, there is no will but God's. There can be no conflict anywhere at any time, because nothing exists outside mind of God. We will sit in this quietness for about 10 minutes. And every once in a while, I will say something that you might wish to contemplate. But for now, just sink into the words of this lesson. There is no will but God's. Surrender is a constant process of not resisting or clinging, but instead continuously turning everything over to Source. Disentangle yourself from the content of experience. Allow awareness without expectation. Love is beyond duality. It does not need a subject or an object. Love is a quality of truth that is independent of all apparent circumstances. Love is beyond duality. It does not need a subject or an object. Love is a quality of truth. It is independent of all apparent circumstance. The peace of your soul lies in its limitlessness. The peace of your soul lies in its limitlessness. eternal, unlimited, ever present. There is no will but God's, expressed infinitely in infinite ways, and the peace of your soul lies in its own limitlessness, its own infinite expression. Sometimes that feels good, and sometimes it feels bad. Sometimes it's comfortable, sometimes it's uncomfortable. The discomfort seems to create a space between the idea of who we are and the will of God. But the peace of your soul lies in its limitlessness. How can discomfort compromise a limitless soul, a limitless consciousness? It is merely one aspect, here and then gone. All arising in the will of God. You are, I am, God's being, the will of God, and there is never anything but that. Throughout the day, when you are moved through the will of God, to remember that you are the will of God, practice gratitude, grateful that God has called you back to itself, to remember itself through you. So rest in God today. And when you're ready, come back, center yourself through your breath, be gentle with yourself, and let's share if you're so moved. There's something that we read yesterday that I found a great deal of meaning in. And it is something along the lines of the journey to self-knowing. That means the journey, for me, that means the journey to remembering my true self, which is God's being, will include confrontations or seeming confrontations with the opposites to whatever level of consciousness I'm experiencing in the moment. So if I'm in the upper room, quote unquote, I will have confrontations that seem to be the opposite of whatever level of awareness I have in the upper room. And these happen spontaneously, often unexpectedly, and without warning. And a great example of that was brought to us by Cindy yesterday, when she shared with us that she had finished a dyad and she was open and in love with life and love and herself. Open, open. And then she has a conversation with her mother that pierced that openness, just went straight through into the heart. Essentially, a complete rejection of her presence. And she had no barriers for it. It just hit her full on. That is a confrontation that seems to be the opposite of that openness. But these two are God's will. Only arising for us when we are ready. And there's no space, none, between that openness and being hit in the heart. There's no space there where God is not present. This is the genius that we all are. And this recognition, every time this happens, offers us the freedom to understand that there is nothing but God's will. That's what I have today. I love us. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Yep. Thank you. How did this go for you? If you're moved to share.
I'll share if I may.
Okay, John and then Rana.
I'd like to thank you. Thank you first is what I got to say because this fits in with what I'm looking in terms of direction and what I want to focus on. That was wonderful, just wonderful hearing all those Course in Miracles lesson titles and the way that they pierce my heart. Especially, I can see I could see peace instead of this. The thing I want to mention is really basically what you mentioned about Cindy's discomfort with the arrow that pierced her heart, because I think, in all fairness, into facing the direction and what I want to focus, I do have to deal with some of that, and it is with those things that the course kind of speaks to me, and these messages speak to me, and you speak to me, and it's essentially that. I just want to say I'm becoming aware of those where those things are. And one of the things is that I got to deal with is the words that I say. And one of the words that came up for me from yesterday's meeting, because like you said, this is a continuation, was the word nigger. Because I heard that. It kind of pierced me a little bit, but I heard it in a context where somebody was calling people niggers, and they were prisoners that they were in prison, and he was in charge of them. So actually he was the warden. So they just had to sit with being called niggers, and without having any response, because they knew that where that was going to go. But his lesson to them was, if you think you're a nigger, you are a nigger. So that kind of led me to it's what I'm dealing with is niggerism. All the niggerisms in my life where I can be pierced. A dreadful word, a dreadful thought. It appears apparently out of nowhere. Like we heard yesterday, the house is built on a fear-based thing, like somewhere down the pike I've bought into the nigger in the woodpile or something, and identified with that with myself. So dealing with that niggerism is what's a big deal with is to face with that, and especially in dealing with what I really want to focus and let into my life, the direction and the things that I really want to focus on, like which is God's will, and taking that gap. And the other thing I want to mention, because it kind of speaks to the same thing, especially relative to the fear-based thing that I'm not unaware of. I mean, my coach, Amy, was relating the story of a lady came to him for anxiety, and he had never met her before, but he gave her a session, and she was supposed to come for 2 or 3 sessions, but he never felt comfortable with the way that first session went. Anyway, but he just did his best. Like I guess he did God's will. But she came back a couple of weeks later with the happiest face ever because she told him that she had been raped. And he was kind of shocked with what had gone on, but apparently she'd had a fear all her life of being raped. And sometime in the last 2 weeks, she'd gone to a party and she'd fallen asleep somewhere, and some guy had attempted to interfere with her. I don't think he had been successful, but he had been partially successful, and so she classified that as a rape. And she said it was over with now. As a result of you coming to see this, brought this whole thing to the surface. She'd managed to deal with her rape, which was a non-existent thing, and she was so over the moon that I kind of think that, that was that house that was built on a fear-based house, running her whole life unconsciously, like a niggerism that's existing in mine about, where am I a nigger in a woodpile, and bringing it to a face and a direction and something that I really want to focus on, which was, it's essentially just letting it all go, not taking it a lot less seriously, and being in with a crowd of people, with like I'm with here. My dear friend Rona, the first things out of her word when she told me, "I love you." Do you know, Rona, what that meant to me? To hear you say that, it was amazing, amazing just to hear the first person says the words to me today is "I love you." So thank you so much, everybody, for being here.
Thank you, John. That was a great segue right there. You did a wonderful introduction. Thank you for that. Rana, you're up next.
Good
I don't
morning,
know how you're going to
everyone.
follow that one.
I don't know. I'm just gonna say what's on the heart. Good morning and good afternoon to my friends around the world. What I'm struck by most right now is that because this is lesson 74, that means that we've been at this, give or take, 74 weeks. And each of these Tuesdays, I have shown up here with some state of mind, something pressing going on. And I can't remember the last 73 of them. You know, each of those states, which seemed so important, are just flittering memories now, and they don't even register really. But I see the transient, temporary nature of the Rana personality. So what really sticks out to me in the reading today is all will be well because there is no other option but God's will. So when this personality starts saying things like, you're getting it wrong, you're not doing enough, you know, why can't you shake this? What is this about? I've again forgotten that when I look at it, it's all God's will. And there's so many great little nuggets in here about the perception of that, right? Seeing wholeness instead of the separation. And so that's very helpful to me today. The other sentence, free will says, I can take as long as I want with this game. And so I'm here to say how grateful I am for the last week or so to have been seemingly sucked in to something that the mind was perceiving and to see the game and to prove that the thing that kept ringing in my heart was this too shall pass, this too shall pass. Tell your friends, be honest. It's okay, and this too shall pass, and this has passed. With a renewed commitment to seeing thoughts for what they really are. And to remember that I have the ability to evaluate those thoughts. Those thoughts are not me. Also grateful that I don't think I got it wrong somehow. I didn't do anything wrong. What I'm seeing is the nature of the personal identity. And what a gift that is to be able to be sucked right into it and then pop back out and be like, wow, look at that. How interesting. How the mind makes things so important. And it really knows what's going on, don't you know? Just grateful for that experience. And grateful that Source is endlessly patient. You know, if I just would remember, I can't get mad at my kids for very long. In fact, it's fleeting now because it's so easy to be like, Ryan's Ryaning, Kylie's Kylieing, you know? And so can I allow this self that grace? Rana was just Rana-ing again. It was a good chance to remember what self-pity feels like and the ability to have it. Thank you very much. Thank you for not trying to fix me that whole time. I appreciate the breadth and the bandwidth to move through that at the pace that it happened. So thank you.
Thank you, Rana. You know, as you were speaking, it comes to me that there is this very thin layer between this egotistical sense of I am God, and that's solipsism. I am God. There's only my view of everything, and everything else is an illusion because I am God. And I am God's expression. I did not create myself, but what created me is what I am. And to live and move in that is such a gift. And as you said, the ability to move a little further apart and say, oh, Rana's running, isn't that a beautiful expression of God's will? So unique. There's nothing else like it. There is no other Rana or Ryan or Kylie. There's nothing else like it that's ever been anywhere, ever. And to be able to appreciate that, to see it and appreciate it, that is God's will. And Alka says, it's better to be raw and honest than balanced in a psychotic world. Boy, do I agree with that.
Not my words, though.
I wondered, they didn't sound quite like you. But they're absolutely right. It is a psychotic world, isn't it? Yeah. Insane, as a course says. It's insane.
And from time to time, I see myself as insane too. Slip in and out of insanity and raw and honest.
Yeah. You can't play in the mud puddle without getting some mud on you.
But I have to say, every time I struggle with something and realize it's all God's will, I learn things at two different levels. One is the acceptance of a situation, and the other is of the letting go of the fear. Yeah, accepting the situation of somebody else and letting go of the fear that has been in me. It really helps when you realize that it's all God's will. It works at several different levels. So it's a very important lesson.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Livy, good morning.
Good morning. It's interesting being in that limbo time between the old year and the new year. There's something special about these couple of days. What I wanted to share was what a gift it continues to be for me to be in the truth that it's not me. And meaning that I have an underlying belief. That's one thing is being able to hear what messages I give myself. And I have a belief, a deep-seated belief that I can't do anything right. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to do that. And one of the things that's been really helpful is for Rana to hear over and over again, you can't get this wrong. You can't get this wrong. You can't get this wrong. And so when I move around my living space, which to be honest, when I first moved into it, I had a slight what I think some people call a nervous breakdown. I was so full of fear because, oh my God, this place is the first time I'd ever owned. It's my responsibility and I don't know what I'm doing. And I really got almost paralyzed with fear. And it was the kind of fear where I had to control everything. Whereas now, it's such a gift to recognize I'm not doing it anyway. I can't get it wrong. even with things that seemingly need to be done around here. And it is such a relief to sort of be more living in the pause and moving within that, recognizing that it's just what it's not me. So it's just really a gift to be able to know that there's nothing that the source doesn't know how to do. So it's just bringing it to that and sitting sometimes throughout the day, just 5 minutes, just to kind of hear what the next thing should be to do. And what a gift that is to not have to live on a day-to-day basis within my living space in fear that I'm not going to do it right. And to be able just to allow myself to move from the one chore to the next chore. And it can be, I even sometimes pray, let's have fun doing this. I forgot how to play. I know you know how to play. Play through me, you know. And so it's just a real gift of not having to live in fear in my living space that I'm not going to do something right because I'm not the one doing it anyway. And when I recognize that, the freedom and my word this year is exploration. And so allowing an exploration with the oneness living through me, everything's kind of new. And to be able to know that I can't get it wrong. And what a real gift that is. So I just wanted to share that and thank y'all so much.
Thank you. You just reminded me of something. And I always appreciate your bringing us back to we are not in charge and that's okay. And I really appreciate that, Libby, because so many of us have these unspoken fears and we have to confront them. The first time that we face them, they'll come back. You don't just that it takes a while for the fan to stop spinning, right? But you said something I think that I'd like to extend this invitation. And that is for if you're moved to do so, to think of a word that you describes something that you want to bring with you into the new year, that you want to carry forward into the new year. And my word, I'll just share it, is appreciation. And it is my desire, not my goal, not my hope, not my wish. It is my desire to experience more appreciation, to experience appreciation in its infinite ways, and to have it be alive in my life and alive in my being for all things. So I just want to put that out there, and maybe when we gather on New Year's Day, we can, if we're moved to, we can share what our word is if we want that. Okay, thank you. And then now Patricia, and you're going to close us out. And I know Cindy had her hand up too. We'll let her decide. Patricia, you go first, and then Cindy will close us.
Okay. Oh, time-wise, yes, I'll make it quick. I'm just amazed at how things change. Saturday, I was in one mood, my life is coming to an end and it's a huge change. And today, it is just fine the way it is right now. That's it. So it's that seesaw from one feeling to another. And just being aware of that. So it's like not getting hooked into those feelings. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's what I wanted to share. And
Yeah.
that's my minute up now. Cindy.
Thank you, Patricia.
Mostly, I was just gonna say I love us. I'm in a state of recognizing I don't know and I'm enjoying it. So, and I wanted to say, hey, Rana, I love you, even though I turned my video off while you were speaking. You were talking about how much things have changed, right? I could remember if I was speaking and someone turned their video off, I knew it was because they hated me. And so we've come a long way, baby. And we're meeting again in 58 minutes. Let me turn the video off. Here we go.